I have a question for you, and the question that I want to ask and I would want you to think about, and perhaps actually you've probably already thought about this question. The question is, have you ever felt like it was too late? Like you missed your shot, the opportunity was gone. It's just too late. It's just too late. And as you think about that, I want to talk to you about, for those of you who are watching who are older, you totally understand this and you get this. For those of you, if you're watching and you're younger, you may not understand it just yet, but I promise you, keep living and you will understand it. But the older I get, the more I realize just how much time I don't have. The older I get, the more I realize how much time I actually don't have. When I was younger, when you in your youth, you feel like your youth is going to last forever, but it creeps up on you, and soon it just begins to disappear. And the older you get, you realize, you recognize that, man, like, I don't have much time left. And so you learn to appreciate every single day for what it is. And at the same time, you and I have these moments in our lives when we begin to think, we begin to wonder, like, did I do everything that I wanted to do? If I were to say my goodbyes today, like, did I accomplish all that I set my heart to accomplish? Did I love with everything that I had? Am I living without regrets? And most people once you get into that elderly stage of life, the one thing that's a common denominator for them when they've asked questions is, do you have any regrets? And really, the number one kind of common theme that came up was, the only regret I had is that I didn't take more risks, is that I didn't take the chances, that there was things that I wish I would have done. Like, I wish I would have taken a chance. I wish I would have taken that risk with my life. And so once again, I ask you the question today. Right now, maybe I'm speaking to somebody who's going through that right now, where you're going, I missed my chance. I missed my opportunity. It's just too late. It's just too late. It's too late to fall in love right now in my life. It's just too late for me to start that business. It's just too late for me to fulfill my dreams. It's too late. It's too late for me to change. Like, this is how I've been my entire life. It's just too late. It's too late to heal that broken relationship. You know how long me and that person we haven't spoken for 10 years. It's just too late. It's too late to get out of debt. I've been in debt my entire life, so it's just too late. I might as well keep on living my life in debt. It's just too late. It's just too late to lose that weight. I mean, I've been struggling with weight and health for a long time. It's just too late. It's just too late. I don't know what your too late is. Whatever it's just too late. And you and I tell ourselves this story over and over, and then we convince ourselves like it is just too late. So because it's just too late, why even take a risk? Why even sacrifice anything if it's just too late? And so we tell ourselves this story that it's just too late, and it feels so real. It feels so real that we actually convince ourselves and we buy into it's just too late. And so we give up. We let go. And we're not motivated to do anything else other than what we're already doing. And that is just living every day, one day at a time, hoping that things change, but more than likely they're probably not going to change. So I'll just keep on living the way I've been living for the past 5 years, for the past 10 years, for the past 20 years, whatever it might be. We're just hoping, but probably not going to change because it's just too late. It's just too late. And so we convince ourselves, like we said, because it feels so real. And it's a tough reality that you and I as human beings navigate at times in our lives. It's just too late. Well, I'm here to tell you today. I don't know who this is for, but I'm here to tell you today, not only you, but I'm here to tell myself today that with God, it's always right on time. That with God, it is never too late. And please hear me. I know it's easy to say little key phrases like that, to quote a cute quote and to pump ourselves up, because it is always easier said than done. It is always easier to say something than to actually do it and to bring it, to birth it into reality. I know saying things like, with God, all things are possible, and with God, it's always the right time. But I'm here to tell you today, this is why I wanted to look at the life of Moses, because with God, it's never too late. That even though you and I tell ourselves a story that it's too late, it's too late to find the person of my dreams. It's too late to have kids. It's too late to change. It's too late to go back to school. It's too late to fulfill that. Whatever like I said, your too late is. But with God, it's never too late. With God, it's always right on time. With God, it's never too late. And with God, it doesn't matter how old you are. Like, it doesn't matter the size of your bank account, or it doesn't matter your education or your lack of education. With God, it really doesn't matter. Because what God does is He doesn't call those who are qualified. God qualifies those He has called. In other words, He's not going to give you something that He's not going to provide. If He's called you to something in life, if He has a purpose for you, if He has a calling in your life, it's because He's going to provide it. He's going to bring about the means. He's going to bring about the resources. He's going to allow you to connect with the people that He needs you to connect with. For what purpose? To fulfill the mission that He's placed on your life, to fulfill the calling of the seed that He's planted in your heart, to bring about the you-ness that God has created you to be. Please hear me. One day Moses is going out and he's by this mountainside. He sees a bush that's on fire, but the bush isn't consumed. It's on fire, but it's not on fire. And he hears his name being called. He turns to it, he's like, yo, I've got to go check this out. And as he's walking upon it, he hears his name from the middle of the bush saying, Moses, Moses. He says, I'm here. And God says, don't come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place on which you stand is holy ground. Moses had no idea that day was going to happen. And I want to suggest to you and to I that you and I, we don't know when that day is going to happen. We don't know the day that you and I are going to step up onto some holy ground. You and I don't know when we're going to have a conversation that is going to change everything. You and I don't know when we're going to come into contact with somebody who God put on our path. You and I, we don't know. We don't know when we're going to meet that person, when we're going to get that idea, when we're going to step into an opportunity, when we're going to be called into our purpose. We don't know. But here's Moses, like I said, at the age of 40, he leaves Egypt, and it's not until he's 80 years old that he gets called by God. 80 years old. 40 years pass. 40 years. So my point is, it's never too late when it's with God. A lot of times you and I will tell ourselves it's too late. We'll tell ourselves we missed our chance. We'll tell ourselves like, man, this is just the same old, same old. Nothing's going to happen. I'm not going to have that exciting conversation. I'm not going to have that encounter. I'm not going to walk up onto that opportunity. It's past me now. Let's just let other people dream. But you and I don't know when it's going to happen. And here God is calling Moses 40 years after Egypt. Like, God, why would you wait 40 years? God, why would you? Couldn't you have called Moses a little bit sooner? Why allow him to go through the mole of the mundaneness of 40 years of just tending to some sheep and sure, raising a family? And so while you and I are always dreaming of the calling and wanting to get to the results and thinking, man, it's too late. It's too late. It's too late. Those 40 years that Moses spent out in the wilderness, out in Midian, tending to sheep, building his family. Those moments in your life when you feel like it's too late, I wonder if with God, the parts in our life that feel like it's just too late is also the part where God goes, no, the just too late of your life is actually the perfect timing to get you ready for what I'm about to do in your life. In other words, the it's just too late and nothing's going to happen. God is saying those moments in your life where you felt like it was just too late and nothing was going on was actually the moment, God says, that I was preparing you to meet me. I was preparing you so that you can have a conversation with me. I was preparing you so that you can come up into a situation where you stepped on the holy ground and I asked you to take off your sandals. It took you 40 years, Moses, for you and I to have this conversation, not because it was too late, but because it was just the right amount of time to get your heart ready. It was just the right amount of time to get your mind ready. It was just the right amount of time to get Egypt out of you so that I could get into you and so that you and I could have this conversation. It was just the right amount of time to bring you into your calling, to bring you into your purpose. So Moses is out there, like I said, for 40 years. And you and I, right now, maybe we're going through that. It's like, it's just too late. It's just too late to start that business. It's just too late to dream again. It's just too late to fulfill that vision. It's just too late to get married. It's just too late to fall in love. It's just too late to get out of debt. It's just too late. It's just too late. And yet, God calls Moses in a time when it probably felt like it was just too late. 40 years later, at the age of 80. I got any 80-year-olds listening right now? Maybe you're at a place in your life, maybe you're at an age in your life where you think it's just too late. But with God, it's never too late. Because the calling that God had placed on Moses was so big, it was so great, it was so wonderful, it was so powerful, that had he done it any sooner, perhaps Moses would have said no altogether. And so here's Moses. Like I said, it's never too late. God is always right on time. And I think about Moses, while he's out there, he could have stayed in Egypt and he would have been good. Like, he would have been successful. And he would have kept all of those privileges that he had. Would have had all that. And would have been good at it. Would have been good at what he was good at what he did. He would have been successful. But there's nothing worse in life than being successful in a place that was never really meant for you to begin with. Like, there's a lot of us who are good at what we do, and we're successful in the place that we're successful at. And because we're successful and good at it, we get comfortable and we settle. And even though it promises us success, and even though it has its perks, and even though we're even good at it, a lot of times, like Moses, had he stayed, he would have been good. Had he stayed, he would have been successful. But he would have remained in a place that was really never meant for his life. He was meant for what God was calling him to. And when he killed that Egyptian that day, he could have done things differently, a lot differently. But I bet that sometimes in life, we need those dramatic moments to push us, to catapult us into our destiny. Because had he never killed that guy, he would have never ran away. But God uses even our dumb choices sometimes. My goodness, please listen. God uses even our dumb choices sometimes. Dumb choice, Moses, not the smartest idea to kill this man. And yet, it was because of his dumb choice that caused him to flee from Egypt, become a fugitive in the land, and to run away and to be gone for 40 years. And if it wasn't for that one dumb choice right then and there, perhaps he would have never ran away and he would have stayed in Egypt. He would have been comfortable. He would have just been good at what he did. He would have been successful, but he would have been living a life that was never really his to live. Because God had a calling on his life. And God's calling on your life, on my life, it is always bigger than our success. It's always greater than us just being good in a certain area of life. Please hear me. God's calling, when God called Moses, Moses could have been successful in Egypt. Moses could have done a lot of great things in Egypt and could have lived a good life. But when God called him 40 years later at the age of 80, God's calling on his life was much bigger, went beyond than what Moses at that time would have said. This is success. This is what success looks like in life. This is what it means to be great. This is what it means to have arrived. This is what it means to have fulfilled my life. No, God's calling is always greater than what we think is success, because God's calling in our life not only changes who we are, not only does it impact where we're at, not only does it transform our hearts and our minds, but God's calling on your life, God's calling on my life, not only impacts us, but it impacts everybody who's around us. And God had a calling for Moses that was bigger than Egypt. Oh, please hear me. It was bigger than Egypt. It was bigger than the promise of Egypt. It was bigger than the promise of the fame and the power. It was bigger than the wealth. It was bigger than being in charge of the civil life and the religious life and the military. It was bigger. It was bigger than that. And yet you and I those are the very things that you and I chase all the time. You and I are chasing the things that we thought, like the Egypt, right? You and I love Egypt. I mean, when you read the Bible, you're like, I don't love Egypt. Well, that's because you and I have been taught a certain way for so long. But if you and I bring it to the 21st century and we're thinking about what Egypt promised, what Egypt gave, you and I love that. We want to drive the nice cars. We want to be connected. We want to have influence. We want to have wealth. We want to dress nice. We want to live in palace-like places. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of us do. But God's calling on Moses' life is bigger than Egypt. God's calling on your life is bigger than your Egypt. It's bigger. And God does not want you to settle. And so sometimes you and I have to go through these moments in our life where it feels like nothing is happening, but that nothing is preparing you for the conversation that God's about to have with you in your life. That place that feels like nothing is preparation for God to say, take off your sandals. For the place on which you stand is holy ground. So today, I just want to remind you, it's right on time. Right now, whatever you're going through, it's right on time. Where you are at right now, it is right on time. It may not feel good, but it is right on time. It may not look like a good place to be in, but it is right on time. It might seem like there's nothing promising about your situation, but it's right on time. It may look like, it may feel like, it may seem like, people may talk about it, it may look like it. Like there's nothing promising, like there's nothing great, like nothing is happening, nothing's going on, it's just too late. Let me just throw in the towel, but it's right on time. Because with God, it's always right on time.